Hey guys, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. Today I have an update on my level up project plan, and you guys, this is a done one. I actually completed my goals for my level 2 and I'm super excited. The palette that I have right here is the Modern Renaissance, and I'm super happy that I got to play with this palette again. It has been a while. I decided to put this a couple of years ago on a project, and I decided to hit pan in every shade, and I did hit pan in every shade. But I told you guys on my last video that I actually wanted to at some point to depot all of my eyeshadows from my ABH palettes for my makeup artistry kit, and then it was so hard, and then I decided to switch up a few shades. So this is a Franken Modern Renaissance because it has about 3 shades that do not belong in this palette. 2 of them were the only eyeshadows without pan in it, so those were the only 2 that I had to focus on since I'm on level 2. If you don't know anything about the Level Up Project Pan, this is an eyeshadow project pan created by Sophie Alexandra. I'm gonna leave her information below, and it's an exciting one because you get to randomize your entire eyeshadow palette collection, and then whatever eyeshadow palette you get, you have to, depending on the level that you're at, you have to heat panning one shade if it's level 1, and then use each of the shades of the palette at least once. So that way you can go up to the next level. Since I'm going up to level 3, I'm gonna randomize a palette today after I show you my Modern Renaissance palette. And then what I will do, the palette that I get, I have to use each eyeshadow 3 times and then heat pan on 3 shades of that palette. If you want to see how my Modern Renaissance palette is looking and how many times it took for me to hit pan on it, then just keep on watching. Okay, you guys, so this is super exciting. You know that my palette looks super loved, and I've been doing what I told you guys that I was gonna do, which is put a little paper and that way track the usage on the palette. I don't track the number of times that I did use it. I track the amount of times that I used each of the shades. So I'm gonna do a close-up right now and show you all of the palette, and while I show it to you, I will let you guys know how many times I've used each of the shades. So for the first shade, which is Tempera, I used that 5 times, and I found that super easy to use. I found myself wanting to use that eyeshadow more. Then for Golden Ochre, I just want all of these medium shades to be in one palette so that I can use them on my makeup artistry kit. These I used twice. For Vermeer, which was one of the shades that I heat pan on, it took me 10 times to heat pan on it, and sometimes I would create a full-on smoky eye with it. So it has a small pan, but I would use it with different types of brushes as the only shade. A few days I used it as the only shade as my one-stop shop because I just wanted to heat pan on that one. Then for Bone Fresco, I used that 4 times. Antique Bronze, which is definitely not a favorite, I used twice. And then Love Letter I used twice, again not a favorite. For Cypress Umber, which is not Cypress Umber, is a ColourPop eyeshadow. It's the other one that I hit pan on. I used that twice because, you guys, it had a side of it which I didn't even realize that was thinner than the rest of the eyeshadow when I pressed it into the pan. So it was super easy to heat pan because it was the metallic shade that I wanted to use the most. So I used it the first time all over my lid, and I heat pan the first time, but I still used it twice. Then for Raw Sienna, which is a beautiful transition, I used that 3 times. For Burnt Orange, which is not burnt orange, is a Makeup Geek eyeshadow, I used that one 3 times. For Primavera, which is the gold, I used that one 5 times. Red Ochre, again not a favorite, I used it twice. Venetian Red, not a favorite, I used it twice. Warm Taupe, I think I used it 3 times, but it says here that I used it twice. And then Real Gar, I used that 3 times. So the entire palette has pan because, like I said, I have pan in all of the eyeshadows except for 2, so that fit perfectly with the level in which I'm in. The palette looks super loved, which is a goal. And honestly, you guys, I still want to keep it in my collection. I was thinking, I don't know if I mentioned this on my intro and my first update and my first level. If I find myself that I do not love a palette by using it, I will declutter it and pass it on to someone. This is how the palette is looking. I really like it. I got to know it even better now that it's a Franken palette, and I love these 2 shades as an addition to this palette. I think it gave it an extra oomph because this metallic shade changes the game, even though it needs to be wet to be used because it doesn't really look beautiful on the eyes. Apply with a brush, you basically, when you blend it, you lose the color. So I think it needs to be wet to be used, but it gives the palette a different look. And not all of the shades end up to be matte because most of the shades on these palettes are mattes. Giving it two more shimmers, I think, makes it better. And here are the swatches for my Modern Renaissance. So that's it for this palette, you guys. So I'm gonna open up my Tiny Decisions app and let's just randomize the palette for my level 3. Okay, you guys, so oh, this can't be. I don't like that palette. This is what I know. That palette, even though I've tried to use it, I've been wanting to get a Natasha Denona palette, you guys, but it's not happening. It's the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. And even though that's a beautiful palette, it's just, I don't know. It's just not my favorite. Okay, you guys, so this is the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk. Like I said, it's a pretty palette, but it's just not something that I reach for or love. All of my Huda Beauty palettes, the rest of them have pan in them. This one, Cosmo, I removed it because it was a glitter and it was dried out. It didn't seem to make sense to keep it in the palette. It looked awful. This one, I'm gonna see if playing with it makes me fall in love with it, or if I definitely should declutter. I know I can get beautiful looks using this palette. It's just that I don't know, it doesn't inspire me to use it. I'll be showing you swatches, doing a close-up of this one and then taking a picture of it. Since it's basically a palette that has no pan in it, I have to hit 3 pans, which is gonna be, I think it's gonna be a hefty goal. And then I have to use each of the eyeshadows 3 times. So let's see how I do with this one. Okay, you guys, so after swatching the palette, I'm even more disappointed. If you see the swatches, a lot of the shades that are pretty, like Celestial, Nefertiti, Twilight, Angelic, Retrograde, they're just so sheer and just so powdery. And to be honest, you guys, I remember them being that way since I got the palette. It has beautiful shades like Blood Moon, Royal, Turkish Delight, and Cashmere, and the mattes are beautiful, but the rest of the shades are just lackluster. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to use them and go crazy ham with them, like wet them or put an eyelid primer on them to see if by building them up they show up, and then that way I can hit pan on them. But if not, I think Angelic is gonna be one that I'm gonna hit pan on because those are my go-to shades even if I have to build it. Then Turkish Delight, it's beautiful and it has a little dip in it. So I'm gonna see if Angelic and Turkish Delight, maybe I hit pan in one of the mattes, but it's not gonna be my goal. And then either Royal or Blue Moon will be the shades. So these 4 shades right here, the most pigmented metallics, and then Angelic, which is a sheer metallic, I will try to hit pan on them. And I know I'm gonna create beautiful looks with it. You will see the looks. And if I have any looks with the Modern Renaissance, I will insert them right here so you can see them. I'm not excited for this one, you guys, but I will use it and I will let you guys know if I'm gonna keep it or declutter it by the end of this level. So wish me luck. I have to hit 3 pans and use every eyeshadow 3 times. I will use it more like you saw in the Modern Renaissance. If I reach for a palette, I never use only one shade. I use all of them. So that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. Wish me luck. Let me know if you have this palette and if you love it and which shades you prefer. I will leave everything that I'm wearing linked below, but stay tuned because this is one of my Natasha Denona looks for my Natasha Denona looks series, in which I'm using all of my Natasha Denona palettes to create one look for each day. So that's gonna be a long one but a beautiful one, and it's gonna serve you well for the holidays or for any events that you have, or if you want to just pull out your Natasha Denona palettes. So that's it, you guys. I love you, and I guess I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.